Hi, this is The Greatest Story Ever Played. I'm Dan.
I'm Jordan.
And today we are going to be talking about To the Moon. Before we get into that, though, we've got two things on the top end. One is thank you to Daniel for becoming a supporter on Patreon. That's super awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, and so if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, you can do that by going to patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. There, if you decide to do that, by becoming a supporter, you get access to a bonus episode each month that's on something topical in nature. Last time we talked about a barcade we went to. We've talked about our favorite Pokemon or Rank the Life is Strange episodes, so just kind of different stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thanks again, Daniel, for that. That's super awesome. And then secondly, we've got a review from Apple Podcasts. It says, a focus on story games makes for a fun and unique games podcast. Give it a listen, from Busted Wonder. So thank you so much. We really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, it's awesome getting to do this.
Yeah, we love reviews. Good or bad. Mostly good, but yeah, prefer anything.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I guess without further ado, we'll jump into the moon. Dr. Rosaline and Dr. Watts have peculiar jobs. They give people another chance to live, all the way from the very beginning, but only in their patients' heads. Due to the severity of the operation, the new life becomes the last thing the patients remember before drawing their last breath. Thus, the operation is only done to people on their deathbeds to fulfill what they wish they had done with their lives but didn't. This particular story follows their attempt to fulfill the dreams of an elderly man, Johnny. With each step back in time, a new fragment of Johnny's past is revealed. As the two doctors piece together the puzzled events that spanned a lifetime, they seek to find out just why the frail old man chose his dying wish to be what it is. And Johnny's last wish is, of course, to go to the moon.
Sweet. Also, I wanted to say this because I didn't write it down, but I just remembered it. Have you seen the movie Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind? That Jim Carrey movie?
No, but I know it's good and sad.
Yeah, this reminded me of that.
Okay.
But it reminded me of that. Also, kind of a certain Black Mirror episode that we won't say which one it is, but you've probably seen it as well. But it also reminded me a little bit of Black Mirror.
Okay.
Except not scary. Black Mirror, I guess, is more scary.
Yeah.
But this one just messing with your memories and stuff,
Yeah.
But anyway.
Huh.
To jump into a brief bit of production, this was developed by Freebird Games, whose To the Moon is definitely their biggest game and most known. But they've also have two other games called Finding Paradise and A Bird Story. And my understanding is Finding Paradise is maybe a sort of sequel to this, where you're the same two doctors and you're doing another memory thing, I think.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So there's that. But I think it's maybe only on PC or something like that. So I think it's not as widely available.
Gotcha.
So I guess moving into our recap, the game starts with Dr. Rosaline and Dr. Watts crashing the car on the way to the client's home. Dr. Watts swerved out of the way of a squirrel or something, and then still hit it.
Still hit it, yeah.
Still hit it and broke the car.
Yeah.
And broke the fence.
He's 0 for 3.
Yeah, not doing great. But together they walk up to the client's house, and they're bickering with each other. You can tell they've got I would say a decent, I'd probably even a good relationship.
Yeah, they seem like they're actually friends.
Yeah, and just kind of bitch at each other all day. But
yeah.
I'm guessing that this is just, since this is their job, I'm guessing that this kind of scenario is just what they do all day, every day, and they work one-on-one, and so they just kind of bicker that way.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem like friends. Dr. Watts to me seems a little more like a douche, a little more tooly, and I like Dr. Rosaline more.
Yeah, I played as her. Well, I guess we'll get there, but yeah, Dr. Watts is kind of mean and very insensitive.
Yeah.
At various points.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. I mean, there's definitely some funny moments, but he was kind of crass.
So after this, we do arrive at the home and we meet Lily. Lily is the caretaker at the house, and her children, Sarah and Tommy, are also there, and they also live there as well. So it's a full-time caretaking thing where you stay at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And the client is an older man who's dying, whose name is Johnny. And he's like in a coma at this point, or he's like out.
Yeah, he's not
He's not dead, but he's not
not conscious.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, not conscious, not speaking or anything. Oh, I guess also this game that's like 2D, right? Like it looks like old Pokemon.
Yeah, like Pokemon on the Game Boy Advance,
Right.
kind of.
It looks like that, and so there aren't any like voice actors or anything. Instead, it's like text bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess just so you know that if you haven't played this game. And so Dr. Rosaline and Dr. Watts, we find out what their job is that they essentially give their clients one last wish before they die. They do this by altering the client's memory and the client's final memory that they have before they die is of the wish coming true. So like Jordan read in the description, Johnny wants to go to the moon. That's kind of the aim. That's what got them here.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you find out is that with information you collect, you can jump to recent memories. And this ends up being really the main game system for, I don't know, 85% of the game probably.
Yep.
What you do with the information you collect is you find like mementos of like objects that have something to do with a memory, and then it can move you back to another place in time.
Yeah, so I think the basic idea is, yes, you go back into a memory, and then you find an object that is connected to an even farther away memory.
Right.
And then you use that, and then you go back, and then you keep jumping back until you get to the earliest memory you can get, and then at that point you plant their wish in their head, and then you assume
their memory will like kind of realign.
Yeah, and they'll like do the thing they want to do in their old age.
Right. So, for instance, this isn't what happened here, but for instance, if he wanted to like be a famous guitar player or something like that, you might go back into his memories, and then as a child, like go to his childhood, have him like get given a guitar from like his favorite band somehow, and at the time, and like that inspires him to be this way, and then he's doing that at the end, kind of deal.
Yeah.
That's kind of the idea. That's the service they sell. So we begin our jumping to memories, and our first memory we get to is Johnny at the grave of his wife, whose name is River, and we collected memories to get here, to be able to do this jump, and see things that were significant around their house. And it seems when we get there, it seems that his wife had died somewhat recently anyway, so like he's taken a turn for the worse now, but it doesn't seem like his wife died like 10 years ago or something. It seems like it was like...
It was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it seems like it's fairly recent.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in this memory we're going around, this is something that's pretty cool, is when you travel through the memories, you can kind of experience almost like a scene of a movie kind of thing. It's like you're trapped within the confines of said memory. You can't like quite go outside of it, but you do have a decent free roam.
Mm-hmm.
So we start off in Johnny's in the bedroom with River. River tells him that she's dying, and she doesn't want him to use their money to try and save her. Like, this is terminal. I'm gonna die. Like, don't spend the money trying to stop this. Instead, she wants him to build this house and to be with Anya, which enters some mystery. Okay, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Build this house for me. Be where I want you to be. This is how you'll like honor me, kind of thing. Which Johnny, understandably, is having a hard time with this.
Yeah.
That he doesn't, I don't want to build their passion project if she's not going to be there, kind of thing. That's kind of his feeling, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like, games hitting hard, like 30 minutes in, you're like, man, this is hard. Like,
Yeah, this is really sad.
Yeah, this is pretty sad. Like,
Yeah.
You're already kind of bummed out, and it like just started. You're like, oof.
Yeah, I mean, especially at this point too. Like, they're talking about Anya as like, I assumed it was their daughter.
Right.
So I was like, oh yeah, I mean, is she dead too? Like, so it's like, I mean, this guy's gotten just reamed with sadness, and then
Right.
Obviously you feel sad because you're experiencing it, but
Right. Yeah. So definitely hitting hard there. Then Johnny says that he wrote a song for her. He plays this song called For River on the piano. It's pretty nice. Also, this is the song that the kids were actually playing when we first walked into the house on the piano. And really gets played several times throughout the game. Like this song, this is like the game has a theme song that's not this, but this is basically the theme song, really.
Yeah, this gets played probably more than the theme song gets played.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good. I like it.
It's kind of sad.
It's enjoyable. So now we're kind of also with your memory hopping. There's I think like 6 stages of John's life, maybe. So it's like recent John, like old John, middle-aged John, or something like that.
Yeah, it's really old John, kind of old John. Yeah, adult John, college, high school.
And then like elementary school or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so they show you like the icons and you can kind of see as you're flipping. So then we jump to older John, so to speak. And here River tells him, again reiterating she wants him to build this house by the lighthouse. This is something in the game. We're just telling this the way that the game told it, but it is weird because it's reverse order. So you kind of detective information that way. So you know less, and then you kind of know more as you go back further. But it's like informing the present almost. So it's a little odd. It's good as a playing game mechanism, but if it's confusing as a podcast, sorry. It is a little odd. A retelling, but it did seem like this was the best way to do it because it is how the story was told. So
yes.
From here, John goes and talks to Isabel, who he tells that he doesn't have enough money to pay for River's medical bills and the house, and that he's planning to just tell her that we can pay for both, and lie to her. Isabel disagrees with this, though, as you would expect. And Isabel and her husband, whose name is...
Nicholas.
Nicholas, yeah, there we go. And they're, like, longtime friends of...
From, like, middle school, high school?
Yeah. And... and no one's siblings or anything. I think they're just long-term friends.
Yep.
Okay, so they're like close, and John's like, yeah, I'm gonna lie to her, which you're like, dude, you can't do that. And
I get why, because so the previous memory, you see that she wants him to finish the house and not pay for medical bills, so I can see why he'd want to lie, because he kind of expected something like this to happen. So I get it, like he doesn't want his wife to die, but I guess lying's probably not the solution most of the time.
Yeah.
If ever. So, Isabella disagrees.
I can see why John would feel that way, like trying to keep her happy, but also hopefully healthy, but also, not a good call. And then Neil, who's Dr. Watts, he ends up having to drink some pickled olives with John to get information.
Like at a bar, right?
Yeah, which is weird. There's like a pickled olive bar thing.
Yeah.
Which sounds really gross. I don't like olives regular style.
Especially.
Pickled sounds even worse.
Yeah.
Sounds very gross. It was funny though on this, Dr. Rosalie doesn't turn like your taste sensors off for it, so he has to taste it.
That's funny.
Is funny.
Yeah.
Kind of pranking him.
Yeah. It's really goofy.
Yeah. And so this was interesting because I think this is the first time you interact with the memories as like a person almost, that you're an NPC in their memory because he talks to John in this, whereas before this we've been kind of on invisible mode. And like observing the interactions and like grabbing items to go backwards, but this is the first time that we kind of got stuck, so we had to go uninvisible to get the info we need.
Correct.
So that was kind of cool. Seeing that their job can allow them to do that. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, the machine that they're using seems pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I still don't really understand. I mean, I get how they describe it in the game, but like the science behind it, it's like, I don't think that's real, but
right. Yeah.
Maybe someday.
So from here we do. Also, I guess this is a mini game that's within it. when you do your traveling, so you end up gathering 6 items, right? Or 5 for the gemstones.
Oh yeah, the the barrier. I
You
forget what you call them in the game.
Yeah, they basically look like gemstones.
Yeah.
They're different colors.
Yeah.
I think there's 5 or 6 of them. So
I think there's 5. Yeah.
each time you get a set of memories to move back, you have to find 5 items that help you move back further.
Yeah.
But then once you do that, there's like a most significant item, so to speak, that you have sort of a puzzle you end up doing, and once you make the puzzle, it lets you jump.
Yeah, they call it the memento, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's basically the thing that links the memory to a more previous memory, so then you can jump to it.
Right. Yeah, so the most key of your item, really, the link, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the memento, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you do to move there. We then move to middle-aged John, and here we find out that Anya is the name of the lighthouse, I think?
I think so, too. I'm definitely not sure.
Yeah.
It's not their kid, that's for sure.
Yeah, they don't have kids as far as it seems. So Anya's not their kid, but it's the lighthouse that their house in the future is built right next to.
Mm-hmm.
And the lighthouse seemingly has significance to them, that it really matters to them. So being close to it in the future seems is pretty important to them.
Yeah, and I think at this point John tells River his plan to build the house there, and she's like really into it. And then she gets excited because it'll be near Anya.
Right.
So yeah, it makes you assume it's the lighthouse.
And we also find out here that River has the same condition as Isabel. You find this out when they go to like a doctor, because they talk to the doctor about like the diagnosis and.
What? I think. Well, they also go to like a bookstore.
Oh.
So I think you're right. You go to the doctor. There's a doctor.
Oh.
Or is that before?
Oh, you're right. Okay, I'm the order fucked me up here. So
Yeah.
this one
Makes sense. It's all.
Yeah, sorry, weird order. So River finds out she has the same condition as Isabel, and she's like more aloof to things, and it's a recent development. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, this is her finding out she has Asperger's like later in life.
Yeah,
Is that right?
they don't ever say what it is. They
Right.
just say her condition.
Right. They don't call it
Yeah.
Asperger's in the game itself. But when I Googled around a little bit, it seemed like that's what they were saying this was.
Yeah. Which would make sense as you kind of see her interact with John and people throughout the game.
Right.
She is more aloof or like
Right.
doesn't engage in conversation the same as you would expect her to, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
She has like a different viewpoint on some things too.
Yeah. And I think that's where I think that's why I got confused as we go backwards from here. Because since she is obviously sick later on, that's separate. That seems like later on she has, cancer or something, and that's what kills her. Then this is not that. This is just a different.
Yeah, so Isabel was diagnosed with Asperger's when she was little. So she was saying she learned to deal with it.
Right.
And like has picked up social cues and I guess things like that.
Yeah,
So she's like,
helpful.
it doesn't affect, it doesn't bother me anymore. But
Right.
River learned about later in life, so she's kind of late. I don't know, something like that.
Trying to navigate like the new information.
Yeah.
Whatever kind of thing versus Isabel's been rolling with it for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we get that. We then move back in time again. Also, you do more things than we're saying, but these are kind of the big highlights.
Yeah. So I think within each like life memory stage you go, and there's 3 or 4
like main scenes.
like main memory sequences. So I guess each thing we mention is like one of the main sequences.
Right.
The most important main sequences.
Right. We move back to college age John, and this is where John and River both get engaged at and married at the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to go to their wedding, or the reception, I guess, at least.
Yeah, I think you see a flashback of the wedding.
Okay.
Where they say I do, but that's it.
Yeah.
It's at the lighthouse.
Okay. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
So it gives you some more detail as to why the lighthouse is so important.
Right. That's right. And then the reception is basically where the house is. I think, like just down the way a little bit from the lighthouse. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the bigger memories you can interact with because your space is pretty large. Mm-hmm. Then before this, you end up seeing this rabbit that got hit on the car. That they hit with a car on the way to, I think, getting engaged. It wasn't on the way to the wedding. I think it was before that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Exactly the timeline or whatever.
Yeah. And that's significant to them. After that point, River like makes a lot of like paper mache rabbits kind of thing, right?
Origami.
Origami, not paper mache. Yep, wrong art.
Yeah, a bunch of white origami or yellow origami rabbits. Yeah, they're like all over the
origami.
Yeah, and different flashbacks. They're like all over the rooms. Mm-hmm. What are you doing?
Yeah, he's definitely. She's made a lot, and he's kept them all. Mm-hmm. And so, like in the beginning, you go to the basement of his house, and there's like 100.
Yeah, in this little locked room.
Right. But I guess this is where that kind of began. Then we see. This is confusing. So this is where we see a doctor about River's diagnosis. I wonder if I flipped these. I wonder...
No, I don't think so.
I think it's the same. River finds out about her diagnosis, so maybe this is where she finds out she has Asperger's?
I think this is where she finds out, but...
But having the same sickness as Isabel...
That's the same thing.
So it's still Asperger's on both?
Yeah, okay. I think that the middle-aged John memory is him talking to Isabel about it.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because when they first talk about it as college-age John, River's like interested in finding out like, okay, what's this mean in my life? What will be different? What should I think about, or whatever? Mm-hmm. And John basically is like, I don't want to think about this.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to read any things about your diagnosis. Just like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah, he's just kind of like, I'm just going to keep doing life the same way. I don't want this to affect our lives or something. That seems to be his attitude. So then middle-aged John is when he's come around and he's like, all right, I want to get it. Like, help me out.
Yeah.
So he's seemingly taken a while of like, if I don't focus on a diagnosis, it's not there or something. Like,
yeah, basically, yeah, I think so.
It seems. So that's kind of the main stuff is college-age John. We went back further to teenage John.
Real quick too. I think college-age John, there's like a horse thing. You like...
Oh, yes.
There's like I think the doctor calls it equine therapy or equine therapy. Okay. However you say horse in science terms. But,
right.
yeah, so they like... It seems like a really cool memory where they are riding horses together, and I think Dr. Watts jumps on a horse. He goes out of ghost memory mode and jumps on a horse and gets... dragged around by it. It's really funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's like a fun, cool memory.
Yeah, that seems like one of their like significant dates in college-age John memories. Yeah, good call. Moving to teenage John, we see John at the movies, and it seems like he got stood up.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Yeah.
You like see him sitting at the theater, like looking around nervously, and like just like, oh man.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Oh yeah, and too like all the non-important memory people, or the people that John didn't interact with the memory, are like kind of grayed out fuzzy people, so you don't know what they look like. They're just kind of there. So there's a bunch of those people in the theater. Yeah.
They're just grayed out, and he seemingly stood up. So then partway through the movie, he like gets up and leaves, and you like follow him out, and you're just like, oh, poor guy. This is sad.
It better not be River doing this.
Yeah, and then he finds River, and seemingly she was also actually at the theater the whole time, but just sitting somewhere else, and was kind of like, well, we watched it together, didn't we? And he was like, oh, okay. Like,
yes, like the first real hint, you're like, okay, you don't view things the same as John does.
Right. John kind of thought we were going to sit together watching the movie.
Yeah, she was like, what is the big deal? Like, we were together in the same theater.
Yeah.
Just kind of funny.
Yeah, and he's seemingly reassured by it, and then they go back in together and watch the rest of the movie kind of thing. So, this is interesting. Then you move back, and you see Nicholas pushing John to ask River out. So River is like hanging out on the steps reading a book, And Nicholas is basically like talking up John, trying to get him to go ask her out. And
Yeah.
he does it. And is like, want to go to the movies? And she's like, okay.
Yeah, it's a really awkward interaction.
It's awkward. I feel like it's probably how all teenagers are.
For sure.
So I think
It was probably us back in high school.
Right. It was accurate. And then you hop back one more memory as teenage John, and it's John and Nicholas like hanging out at the lunchroom, and John's just like really intrigued by River, and it's like, she's different. She's not like anyone else I know. I want to spend time with, like, that kind of thing. He just is like, she cares about things that are different than what other people do, and like, I want to know her. So
yeah, which I guess they kind of make a big deal in the game, because there's another point, I forget what sequence of memories are in, but like apparently it seemed like Nicholas was giving John shit in this memory for like trying to use her to feel different or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But I forget. It seemed like not a big deal to me, but they're making a big deal of that. At some point, John tells River about it in one of the other memories.
Right. Yeah, because there seemed to be a you're right. Nicholas was giving him shit, it seemed like. And it was weird because it was basically like, she's unique, so then I'll be unique if I'm also with her, or something like that, rather than like I'll be playing like everything.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So it's kind of odd.
Which, I guess... I'll save it for a little bit later. But
okay.
I had a thought about that. But we'll get to the thing that references it.
Cool. So, teenage John, we then hop to childhood John, and we're only able to get to one set of memories, where it's like John inside his house kind of thing. And then it gets stuck. We have these issues, so we have to essentially go like a different route to do it. We can't do the standard 4 memories puzzle diamond thing. Because it doesn't work, so we gotta do something different. So then we start to link all the memories together, so then you're like connecting each big block, so oldest John to older John to middle-aged John to college John, whatever, to make like a stronger length in hopes that we can use all of that to push through. But we can't. Dr. Watts gives a call to corporate, and he finds out some additional information from them that's why we essentially couldn't get through it. And it's because John had like beta blockers as a kid, and so those kind of make his memories back then pretty fuzzy and harder to get through. So we got whatever we needed from corporate, or well, maybe not from them, but they told us how to get around it.
Yeah, they basically said you change the sequence or frequency of the machine, and then you use one of the mementos and you can go back and it works.
Yeah, so it allows you to like sneak around it. But it seems a little more volatile because you're not dealing with like corrupted data, but sort of.
Yeah.
The memories are a little dicier than like the other ones we've had so far. And what we find out in this section, so we get back to the first memory at Johnny's house we were at. We find out that John actually had a twin brother whose name was Joey. And we're like, oh, fuck, he had a brother? Like, what?
Yeah, and... sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Like, oh, sorry.
You go ahead.
He hasn't come up, really, at all. And, like, John hasn't talked to him before this, or, there haven't been mentions of him, really.
The only mention you get is that his mom calls him Joey. And he thinks, or was saying, it's because his grandpa was named Joey.
Right.
And it's like a nickname for him.
Right.
So that's all you really know. You're like, oh, maybe that's not true.
Right. So you're like, oh, this is weird. And so then you're like scoping out his memories from childhood here, and you see his mom accidentally back up over Joey playing in the street and killing him, and then you like see the other neighbors like run to the car accident. And like even in like 8-bit Pokemon-y looking style, it was still really
pretty sad.
It was super sad. Just like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. Like it like hurt seeing it, even though it was like so. Ooh. Yeah,
and I guess you also find out around here too. I think you go to memories. I feel like you do this before or after he gets hit, but anyway, Joey was the favorite So then his mom starts calling Johnny Joey, probably because she's messed up and grieving too.
Right.
But also it seems like at this point Johnny doesn't remember at all that Joey even existed.
Right.
Because of the memory blocking things.
Right. The beta blockers have seemingly changed that. Right, you're right. Because then before this, we go back one more memory. It's like Johnny and Joey hanging out in their rooms together.
Mm-hmm.
And they had bunk beds. This was something that was good in here too, is that Dr. Rosalie realized what was up, but Dr. Watts didn't, and neither did I.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't notice the bunk beds.
Yeah, I was like, I thought, oh, whatever, bunk beds. Kids have bunk beds.
I didn't even notice that they were bunk beds. I was like, bed. Like, I didn't even think about it. So that was cool. I was surprised with the game, with Dr. Watts kind of thing. In this, but,
Oh, yeah, me too. I did not see that coming.
yeah. But in their memory, though, you see that, like, you find out that like Joey liked Animorphs and Johnny was into that later. You see that Joey liked pickled olives and Johnny adopts that later. You see that Joey was the favorite and he'd get things first, but Joey was like a good brother and he'd be like, well, you know, it doesn't matter if I get it or you get it because if I have it, it's yours. Like, you know, I've always got your back kind of thing, which was nice. Joey seemed like he was a good kid.
Yep, definitely.
And yeah, looked out for his brother and you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
and so at this point, so we already kind of mentioned that. So Johnny ends up liking olives and Animorphs. I don't know if he actually does like them, but he kind of gets pushed on him probably from his mom because she calls him Joey and all that stuff.
Right.
So this kind of makes sense to me why he'd want to date someone unique like River because he was just not himself. He was just kind of like he didn't really have an identity because it was taken from him.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if he like was sort of blank slated himself by the beta blockers, if that kind of made him more like neutral.
Yeah.
In a sense. And then right, if he like felt like he needed to carry on his brother's legacy by adopting his brother's favorites. So he liked Animorphs, well I'm gonna like those now for him. Or
but like didn't really probably know why. He was just like, oh, this is a thing I like.
Yeah.
Because he obviously couldn't remember he was taking on his brother's things or whatever.
Right. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I feel like seeing this kind of reframe different parts before this for me, where John seemed kind of like an asshole.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you've gone through a lot, man. Like,
yeah.
This is pretty hard. Like,
yeah.
I can't imagine your household was easy to be in, like, after this. And so then we hop to one more memory back into childhood, and we find out that John actually met River as children at a fair. So you've got John and his brother Joey and his mom at the fair. They're wandering around doing different things, and then there's a part where like Johnny like finishes his ice cream or something and is like, oh, I'm gonna go play over there. And his mom's like, okay, just stay there. And then he just wanders the fuck off.
Yeah. As I did as a kid too.
Yeah. Wanders off and he ends up climbing the hill and going to where the lighthouse is. And he's sitting there looking at the lighthouse, just kind of hanging out, enjoying himself. And River rolls up and is like, Johnny kind of is like, oh, am I in your spot kind of thing? Like he wonders. And River's like, no, you're fine. We can sit here. You have this kind of nice first meeting where they're both kind of like, large crowds make me nervous. Like, I like being out here. You find out that River really likes lighthouses, that she like is, I don't know, comforted by them and intrigued by them and stuff. She described it as, didn't she say stars were lighthouses for space or something like that?
Yeah, she likes to picture all the stars as lighthouses or something like that.
Yeah, and they have this kind of like nice moment together, and they do like a sort of connect the star game where it turns it into a duck?
A rabbit.
A rabbit. It was the rabbit, right?
The rabbit, yep.
There we go. It was the rabbit. Into a rabbit, and they bond over it, and it's kind of like, hey, if you look and you see the rabbit, I'll be seeing it too, and it'll be like we're still close together kind of thing. And he gives her the platypus.
Yeah, the platypus that's in every, like, almost every memory.
Yeah.
And also, he gives her a hacky sack. Because she says she's like a klutz or whatever.
Okay.
And then, I don't know if you remember this, but there's I forget which sequence it is, but basically, it's after John tells her that his intentions or whatever when he first asked her out, and she gives him the hacky sack back, and she's like, can you throw this as far as Anya or whatever. Remember that? So it's interesting. And we can talk more about that.
Interesting.
At the end. But yeah, so it's kind of...
I forgot that.
Yeah.
And so, they have this moment. Some music plays here, right? And some actual singing, which is, right? Or is that later? That might be later. Actually, that's later. But the focus changes, though, right? It switches from 8-bit to looking like a comic book kind of.
Yeah,
okay, there is real singing here, I think, where it's like an actual person singing for a second. There's like words, which hasn't happened in the game at all.
True. Yeah.
This. So this is obviously a unique moment in their lives, but it makes it unique in the game because the game doesn't really do this, except for in this instance of their meeting. Then John has to leave. His mom's like calling for him. He gives her the platypus. And is like, hey, will you be at the fair next year? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, okay, see you here. Like, let's meet back up kind of thing.
Yeah, and then at this point, too, I forget who brings up, I think she references, like, yeah, if I don't see you here, I'll see you, we'll see you on the moon or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where the idea gets planted in his head, like, I should go to the moon. Yeah.
Right, because it's where we'll meet. It's where we'll be.
Yep.
Kind of thing. So now we've gotten all our memories. We're ready to change Johnny's memory to go to the moon. And we go back and they try to do a couple different things to like make him go to the moon. So it's like, oh, have like a Dr. Watts pretends to be like a NASA promoter.
Yeah.
Does a shitty job.
Doesn't work, yeah.
Which was pretty funny. And like stuff like that to try to get this memory implanted. It doesn't work. And Dr. Rosalie is like, well, I know what we have to do to have him meet the moon. And Dr. Watts is like, we know that's not what he actually wants, like you said. Like, we know what the moon really means. And Rosalie's kind of like, we're contracted for a job, we're doing the job. It doesn't matter how we feel about it.
I was super annoyed by this.
Yeah.
It's like, don't do that.
I know. I was like, Dr. Watts is right here, I would say.
Yeah.
Rosalie as
what
well.
he really wants is to be with River, and that's what the moon meant.
Right.
But he didn't remember that because his memory was erased.
Right, yeah. And so we go back, and you've also got kind of a sequence where Dr. Rosalie and Dr. Watts are doing an almost like cat and mouse, get in each other's way kind of thing. So Dr. Rosalie's trying to change the memories to have River not be there anymore.
Yeah, I think when
John will do this.
Essentially, when he's going to ask her out at high school, she's trying to remove that. Right,
to cause it to not happen. And Dr. Watts is trying to stop her from stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Rosalie changes it, has John not meet River. She also has Joey not get hit by the car.
Yeah,
which was nice.
Nice touch. Yeah.
Nice touch. And it works. Because John doesn't meet River, he does enroll in NASA. He becomes interested in space and he goes for it. John becomes a cadet at NASA. He's like touring through it and we're like, oh man, it worked. Like,
and Joey's still alive too the whole time.
Joey's still alive. The memory change worked. He's getting it. And then we find out that River also becomes a cadet at NASA.
It's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. You're like, yes. Like, the memory switching is working. And then while like they obviously become friends as cadets and are bonding, John then still plays piano, and he plays for River here, except he calls it To the Moon. And he plays it like when they're getting ready to be able to be sent to space, like they're training to do it. And he plays it, so you hear it again, but now it's called To the Moon. And it's launch day. John and River are cadets getting ready to blast off to the moon together. And like, families there all watching, like the world's watching because, space launch and everything. It goes, they blast off into the moon together, and then IRL, you hear John flatline as a ship shooting to the sky. You could just hear like the
I think
the
him
beeps.
and River hold hands too on the spaceship.
Yeah,
just
hold hands on
cool.
the spaceship, and then you hear like the beeps of the flatline to You're just like, oh.
Sad.
And then I think that's it. Right?
Yep. As far as I remember.
I think it just wraps. There might be like a second or more with the doctors after this, but I think it just wraps.
Yeah.
And then boom, game over.
Yeah. happy and sad at the same time.
Yeah. That definitely hit. I was like, they did it. Like it felt nice. It was sad, but it felt nice that this was the memory that he ended up getting. Mm-hmm. Especially when you weren't sure how it would work out. Like if it was going to be not remembering her.
Yeah, which would have been
so sad.
Yeah, the last thing he remembered was just going to the moon and never being with River. Like, dude, that's a big risk I wouldn't take.
Yeah, that seems personally like a bad last memory.
Yeah.
So that's To the Moon. I guess some general thoughts. I really liked this Pokemon style look for the game. Just that it really reminded me of how Pokemon looks, so it just made me really feel like playing Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
no, yeah.
And I played it on my phone, and so even like size wise, it felt similar. Like my screen is obviously a lot bigger than a Game Boy Color screen, but like,
yeah, like 3 times as big, bro.
Yeah, but it still did feel similar in that, and it was cool seeing that you could make an emotional story with that. Not limited game quality, but like tech limits, I guess. That like, hey, we can still make a really cool story that will emotionally hit you, and it definitely did. Like at that beginning with River dying, that was sad. The ending part here, that was sad. His brother getting hit, like those were all sad. And it hit me. Since I knew the game was emotional heading in, I was a little more prepared. I think if I wasn't, I think it would have probably hit even harder.
Yeah. I do. I feel the same way. It was nostalgic. The graphics, so much like Pokemon, but the game was totally different.
Yeah.
It really reminded me of like playing Game Boy Advance, all the Pokemon games I played, whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was super emotional. Like I didn't know for sure it was going to be this emotional, but I assumed,
right,
based on, I don't know. I guess just the first thing was like, oh, this guy's dying. Okay, emotions are coming. Like,
right.
There's no way this is just going to be like it's whatever, dude. Just to hang out,
right.
Play video game.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about it now, I kind of pieced together, because we talked before we started recording about, like, what was the condition, all these things, but I think I pieced together some things as we were talking.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I think, the paper rabbits were, I think, trying to get John to remember their first meeting where they were talking, because they were looking at the stars. They made the
star rabbit.
Yeah, they made the moon as the belly, and she kept saying, "Describe the rabbit," and it was like, I think, trying to get
that its belly looks like a moon.
Yeah,
because they always had the belly was always different, right, than the rest of the rabbit.
I think so. I don't remember the specific rabbit paper origami details.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that was one thing, and then even the hacky sack thing. I think where River first picked up on the fact that he didn't remember their first meeting was when he told her his intentions when they first met. Yeah. He said it was when they were in high school, but she was like, that's probably not true. And then she gave him the hacky sack, and he threw it but didn't remember it. And then also the platypus was there the whole time, and he never recognized it. So I think the whole time she was trying to get him to remember. And he never did. Which would be really sad. That is sad. That I feel like brings a whole other part to her. Yeah. Like that she was so committed to him after this, even though he wasn't getting it. And not remembering. Not just that you met me, like, I mean, that would be sort of frustrating as a person, but more emotionally of like, you like don't remember like 10 years of your life maybe or something like that. You know, like there's a block of time that you're missing, and like I want you to be able to have it. Yeah, and even thinking about what point was that in the game? Oh yeah, there's a point where John's describing to Isabel and Nicholas, like, she'll make these rabbits and then tell me to describe them, and then I will, and then she'll just kind of look at me like she's trying to get me to remember something, and I don't get what she's saying. So even that was like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, I get it. Yeah. Oh, man, that's awesome. She might have had Asperger's, but, like, she just didn't know how to communicate she probably just didn't know how to communicate it, because she was different, I guess. I don't know. No, maybe. Well, and I guess, too, that, like, she doesn't want to tell him it like he needs to figure it out himself, so he can remember it, not like be told. Yeah, and his brother died, so it's kind of remember your twin brother that got killed by your mom? Like, that would be
Right, like
That'd be tricky.
Right, so him remembering it himself rather than you spelling it, like telling him specifically those things, because I guess if you just had that new information but you couldn't remember it,
Yeah, just be
I don't know
nothing.
it would be helpful.
Yeah, it wouldn't be real, I guess, to him.
Right, it wouldn't be real. It'd be I have a brother I don't know about and he died, or like you met me but I don't remember. No, we didn't. Like,
Yeah.
So I guess that she needs it to click for him, and it can't because his mind can't remember.
Yeah, because they're blocked.
Because
Yeah,
it's blocked.
So it's there's like layers. I feel like it's like
that's...
what to this like 4.5 hour game. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm thanks for pointing those out. That's good. I like that link. That does help because doing it backwards, I think.
It's like, yeah, what's going on?
In my head, I'm like, okay, I think I'm seeing it, but
yeah,
no.
I think I'm still confused about the Anya thing. Like I think we assume it's the lighthouse,
right.
but I don't know. They never really. I don't remember them saying that directly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess since that's where they met,
Yeah.
that it's so significant to them.
Yeah.
And I guess that's something. So then he spent his whole life being like, why does she care so much about this lighthouse? Probably.
Yeah.
Or being like, that's what she cares about. And she's like, it's important for us. And he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, they got married there, but like, that's important. But yeah, I guess the first time they met and
they met there, they got married there.
She's probably trying to get him to remember the whole time.
Right. Yeah, our house needs to be here so you can remember.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's crazy.
Man,
yeah.
River's awesome.
Yeah.
Go River. Like that's like that you're really trying to help him so much that you've literally oriented your whole life around it.
Yeah, and you're willing to die over it too. Because yeah, at one point she's like, "Don't pay for medical bills, just build the house and live there."
Do it because if you can remember, even after I'm gone, you'll remember this.
Yeah.
Which is like big.
Oh man.
Oh man.
That's crazy.
Nice job to the moon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I also really like the soundtrack in this game. I thought it was really good and like really fit.
It's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. It fit. I listened to Four River like a bunch the week after I finished it.
I don't know how you did that. It made me too sad.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me like the Walking Dead, that one song that always comes on, and the video game song.
Oh.
I don't know what it's called.
I know
what I'm talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like this is their version of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. So you know something sad's gonna happen when you hear it.
Yeah. I listened to that a bit in the main theme, especially. But soundtrack's really good.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's cool. Like, yeah, they're good there.
Yeah, it seems like we end up playing a lot of games with pretty good soundtracks, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't think we overly seek it out. Like, I think that it happens, but like if something has a good soundtrack, I'll put that on my like. If I hear that it does, I'll put that on as like a plus side for playing a game. But it doesn't like move me from not playing to playing.
Yeah, the main thing we're looking for.
Yeah, instead it just seems to happen. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, this is a really bad typo here. This game the whole game reminded me of the intro to Firewatch. Like where it's just literally the text and you like make a couple decisions.
Yeah.
I remember that being like, dude, this is sad.
Yeah.
It's like, well, your wife has Alzheimer's or dementia or something. She doesn't remember you.
Right.
So this kind of reminded me of that. It's like, I mean, that was way less interactive.
Right.
But I mean, I guess as far as games we played goes, this is still less interactive, I guess, because it's lower technology, whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. It was like, man, they packed a lot of emotion and plot and feels into like 4 hours of.
Right.
I mean, a really fun game, interesting game, but not like a crazy graphics or like great. I don't know. I don't want to shit on the game. Like production, things like that. Like it's probably really low budget and it did a really good job. I would recommend this, but it's not.
No, right.
God of War or like The Last of Us, something like that.
Right. Their technology isn't like how the game looks or something isn't.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the narrative. It's the plot. It's the insane character interactions. Yeah. So it kind of reminded me of Firewatch. It was like, all I'm doing is reading something, but I feel sad.
No, yeah.
It's kind of like that.
No, that is a good call. Yeah, that intro to Firewatch is rough. It's just words, and you're just like, this is pretty sad. Like,
yeah.
I just started this game, and I'm pretty bummed out. And I'm gonna walk around in the woods.
All I'm doing is reading a paragraph about something. I don't think I've ever been sad reading a paragraph before. I mean, I probably have, but
no, yeah, it was like, man, yeah, that was well done in that, and similar. It's this is just really getting me on that last part of our discussion. But so with Firewatch, right, you're the husband on the other side of like your wife having medical issues, and then he goes and fire watches. Just fucks off and fire watches.
Yeah. Just leaves like a douchebag would.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can't deal with this. And then you play Firewatch. But in this game, you thought that's what you were. Mm-hmm. But really, River was that.
Yeah, she was trying to help you.
In retrospect, she was the one who is the real, in a lot of senses, really the caretaker of everything. Like, this whole game being reframed in that, like...
It's crazy.
River's actually done everything, and John's instead been difficult at times, or and, you know, he has his own trauma, and that's why. But, like, you know, that sort of stuff, and, like, she's really the protagonist. I mean, you play as John, but she's really, like, the good character.
Yeah, she's the one trying to help him understand himself. And the whole time he's like, yeah, she's got these issues and they affect me. And she's probably like, no, motherfucker, like, you got these issues that affect me and you.
No,
like,
we're trying to help you. So it's interesting. Like,
it's crazy.
That reframe, which is cool. Like, that's super great. I had one more thing. Left Behind Game Club has an episode on this game. So highly recommend checking that out. Jacob was on the podcast last time to talk about Man of Medan. Him and I talked about that. So if you like that and you'd like to hear more of him, go check out Left Behind Game Club. They have To the Moon. They've also covered a bunch of other games, some of which we've talked about, like BioShock and Wolf Among Us. So highly recommend that.
Cool. Yeah, I'll probably give that a listen after playing and talking about this.
Oh, yeah, I know.
I could use some more stuff.
I need more To the Moon thoughts, for sure.
Yeah, and I guess my last thought, too, is I'm glad the ending was objectively happy, which is really cool. And I mean, it sucks he still died, like, but obviously he was going to anyway. Right. But I'm glad it's kind of refreshing to play a game with, like, just an objectively happy ending. I think I'm just so used to, like, Life is Strange, where it's like, it's...
Right.
You could have a good ending, but it's not necessarily objectively happy, I guess. I don't know.
No, yeah.
Like, there's always a consequence. But in this game, it was like, no, I mean... You pretty much got everything you'd want as John, or as Johnny, so... Yeah,
no, I agree. I can't think of many or any... And I don't want to spoil any games, but I can't think of many or any games we've played that have had endings that probably worked out as positively as this one did. Because you're right, Johnny was going to die anyway.
Yep.
And
he died happy.
He got the best version of this memory he could probably get. Like, you couldn't make him remember the stuff before, but he did get to go to the moon with River, and
his brother was a lot like
it was like all the things that you would probably have wanted if you were making a fictional last memory for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one I'd say checks out pretty good.
Yeah, I would take it. The last sequence when whatever they took in River and he was doing that NASA thing, I was really expecting the spaceship to blow up. I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. They're just going to die.
If they're on the Challenger or
something, then they're going to... Oh, that'd be crazy if you see the name of the show. I'm like, oh, no. Don't do that.
That would be fucking brutal.
That'd be so crazy.
That would be the ultimate, like, punch in the dick.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, it turned out well. It's good, and then it's not.
Just kidding. He just thinks he's dead, and his love is dead.
Oh, man, that would be horrible.
I really expected that, just because I'm so used to, like... Just getting stabbed in the back last second.
You're kind of waiting for the punch in some of these games, especially after this one giving you quite a few like heavy moments. Like they could give you more like that, but I agree. I really like that ending. It was I'd say pretty happy in that like what you were gonna get, which I like that, and I thought they really did it well too. With you heard the flat line when it was going, that was like perfect. When that happened, I was just like, ooh, like you felt it, but you're like,
but yeah, because you're like watching them. You're like watching them hold hands and like go to the moon together, and then you see the memory kind of like pulse, and you hear the flatline thing happen. You're like, oh no, he's dying.
Yeah.
But he again died with probably the best memory he could have possibly had.
Yeah. So it's like it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well done, developers.
Yeah. Yeah. Great job. We've got a couple pieces of listener feedback to wrap up with. Let's Play Baseball on Twitter says, one of the few games that has made me cry at some point when playing/watching. Obviously not the most intense in terms of gameplay, but absolutely didn't need it. The story was amazing.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way.
Yeah, spot on. I think that I didn't cry when I played, but I think I would have if I didn't know that I was going to. Like I was
you fought against it. Yeah,
not even fought against it, but I think I was just maybe a little more prepared. I was like, this is going to make me do this, so I'm like ready for it. Mm-hmm. And I think if I would have been caught off guard, it would have. So I kind of wish I would have not read anything about the game and just played it. But I agree, though.
Yeah.
Hard hitting.
Yeah, I didn't cry either, but I was definitely really sad at various points. It made me think of, like, my wife. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just weird. It's like, what if you were there? Or, like, what if this was me and her? I'm like, oh, that makes me more sad. But whatever. Like, yeah, it was,
it
was
did.
kind of sad.
It did really bring that. You're like, oh, that's hard.
Yeah, they made it really realistic, too, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. It felt like real people.
Yeah.
Instead of like video game characters, which is good.
For sure, yeah. Not over the top.
Mm-hmm.
Video games and art on Twitter said, good visual novel with an RPG package, good story, well written and narrated. Again, yeah, totally agree. The RPG package, it really felt like old Game Boy Advance. Like, the graphics, that just added so much for me.
Yeah.
I think I'd prefer to play it like this as opposed to any other form. Personally.
Yeah, I don't think I would want it to be different either. And like, I guess also we talked about puzzles being in it, but they were pretty easy, which was nice. Like they weren't puzzles that became frustrating, or anything like that.
Yeah, they were a minute or two.
Yeah, they were all pretty easy. Finding the objects wasn't typically too hard. There was like a couple of times where I couldn't find the last one for a second, but then I'd find it.
Yeah, and it added to the narrative too. I think because as you'd find the objects, it would kind of give you more dialogue about the memory, or like you'd see some interaction. So I felt pretty compelled to like, I'm going to find the items.
Right, so I can jump. Yeah, it didn't feel like chores to be able to jump back exactly. It was like you knew you had to do it, but it didn't feel like bad side quest or something.
Yeah, it very much added to the like, where's this going?
Yeah.
Very, very confusing at certain points.
Jasmine on Twitter said, who brought the truckload of onions? Damn it. Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big sad.
Yep. Big sad. Powerful sad.
Powerful sad. Yeah. As Tom Sawyer would say.
Yeah. Into a Dream on Twitter said, loved it. So simple, so humane, so emotional. Music, graphics, narrative, all blended perfectly. One of the best games narratives I've ever played. I think I agree. Like, as far as just straight narrative goes, this is probably top 3. Like, I have to think for a while about other games I've played that are just narrative that are better than this, but this is up there.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Just straight storytelling skills wise and stuff, like really well executed, especially to be able to have like a clicking moment while we're talking here, where we're both kind of seeing pieces of the game we missed. Like, I think that's probably even better. You know, they chose not to spell everything out super obviously, but it wasn't like impossible to figure out. It was just as we talked about.
You have to think and talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, this is that thing, and like that's pretty good. Not that like you can't just be straightforward, but like you don't have to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, well done.
Yeah, I think it made me think too. I was playing it like, I don't know what you have to do to write video games like this, but I imagine like, so I like write software, but I just definitely couldn't, even if I knew how to write video game software, I couldn't just make a narrative like this. You have to get someone pretty talented. And I imagine it's hard because they're like probably a small studio.
Right.
So it's cool. Like they got some good people over there.
Yeah. I feel like, whoever spawned this idea, they must be pretty good at story in themselves. And now I want to find a way to play Finding Paradise.
Yeah,
I feel like,
that's worth picking up.
Yeah, do another dream change thing. I wonder how you would do another story in that, but what the memory would be and what they could go through.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what Take Two looks like.
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid to play it because I don't want it to be not as good, or just really sad. Like,
that's true.
Maybe this time they're like, they tease all the happy endings, and then they're like, nope, your spaceship's blowing up.
Right. They just go full sad.
Yeah, which I kind of like to be sad sometimes, so maybe I'd play it anyway,
right.
even if I knew.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That'd be interesting. But
yeah.
Definitely cool, though. Cool game. And like it.
Mm-hmm. Sam, really good game.
Yeah. I guess that probably wraps. That's our listener feedback. So, if you, let us know if you have other thoughts on To the Moon. I'd love to keep talking about this game. Cool stuff. But, if you want to talk to us further, you can do that a couple ways. You can go follow us on Twitter at StoryEverPod. Also, I made a March Madness bracket of sorts of all the games we've podcasted on and doing kind of weekly voting kind of deal. That started I guess yesterday, if I think when this will be out. So through March 2020. So you can vote for games. I'll be doing like Twitter polls and stuff like that. So if that's something that interests you and you want to vote for your favorite games that we've played on the podcast, then check that out. Also, you can go to our website, TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed.com. That's got all our other episodes and links to all the apps you can listen to and all that. Last, if you want to support us financially, you can do that at patreon.com/TheGreatestStoryEverPlayed. And if you would like to just support us with a review, you could do that at Apple Podcast or wherever you get them. That would be cool too. And thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening.